Being overly professional when it comes to posting online as a realtor is overrated. And I'm about to explain myself because it may not be in the way that you think, okay? Now, if you don't know me, my name is Trey Wesley. I've generated over 120 million viewers. I've gotten over 200 plus brand collaboration, over 6 figures in sales revenue for small online businesses, and I get about 20 plus monthly inbound leads on a page that I barely even post on. All right, with that being said, professionalism equals cookie cutter realtor that blends in. Now, I don't know about you, but I think the goal when it comes to posting on social media as a realtor is to not blend in. And a lot of you are unintentionally doing it, by the way, by posting cookie cutter content and by being cookie cutter with your brand voice, your brand tone, you as a person. Everything that you're doing in and through social media is all screaming cookie cutter. And that's exactly what we don't want because that is overrated. Now, the 3-step process to fix this is to analyze first. And then after you analyze, you must change. And after you change, it's all about just going in, hitting the gas and posting. We'll get to that in a second, though. So what do I mean by analyze? Well, you got to first look at what everybody else is doing. The vast majority of agents, I want you to go on social media, and as you scroll, as you see realtors online on your feed, I want you to look at what everybody is doing right now. And so once you do that, you'll see that everybody's probably doing some just listed, some just sold, some under contract, let me be a realtor talk, choose me, pick me. All this content is surrounded around the same thing. Every single person is pretty much a copy and paste version of everybody else. And so after you see that everybody's doing this exact same thing, I want you to actually listen to everyone with your eyes closed. Like actually literally close your eyes and just listen to everybody. Every realtor that pops up on your feed, don't even watch their video with your eyes open. I want you to just listen to them with your ears. And after you do that, I want you to do the opposite. Watch everyone with your volume on mute. And you'll start to realize that everybody sounds the same. Everybody looks the same. Everybody walks the same. Why is that? This is due to industry standards as they stand today. What are industry standards? Well, that is what you have been taught by your brokerage or by somebody else, or just by what you know previously to get into this about social media. That is the industry standard. And that is something that actually doesn't work anymore. So while everyone is too focused on showing up too polished, right? Everybody wants to show up in the best way possible because they think that if they show up in the best way possible, people start to gravitate towards them. They'll get all the business in the world. Everybody likes them, blah, blah, blah. That's not the case. What polish does is it actually leads to over professional. Now, you may ask yourself, is being over professional even a bad thing? Like, what are you talking about? Isn't our goal to strive to be professional? No, being professional is good, but there's a way to actually go about it. So you realize that everyone is too focused on showing up polished, which then leads to over professionalism, which then leads to agents putting on a front and coming off as fake. And there's a big problem with that because it's so common nowadays for everybody to hop online and become somebody that they're not, become somebody that's fake, just to get something out of it. But here's the funny part about it, right? If you want people to reach out to you, if you actually want to be seen in all of your efforts and your work, you can't put on the mask. I want you to imagine something. If you've actually been doing this for a long time, not even a long time, right? If you've been doing this for over a year, let's say, I want you to think about all the effort and the work that you've put in to be the best realtor possible this past year. And if you've been doing it for a long time, let's say 10 plus years, I want you to extend that time. How much have I done every single day to be the best realtor I possibly can be over these past 10 years? What have I done? How much work have I put in? And once you get that locked in your head, I want you to actually realize what it would feel like for you to have put in all that effort and all that work to be the best realtor that you possibly can. All for you not to be seen, all for your efforts to not be heard, all for your work to just go down in shambles every time you try to post it online. Well, the key to that is you're putting on a mask. So what you need to do is you need to take that mask off because we've actually shifted towards a time online where the people who can connect with people will win. It's no longer about I've sold this much, I've done this much. If you can't find a way to connect with people while showcasing what you've done, then unfortunately, you're just on this flywheel of a losing game that you'll never win, okay? No longer will blending in work. Hiding the authentic you is pretty much a recipe for disaster. Now, I know about 10 years ago, things were a little bit different, okay? You didn't have to stand out as much in order to win. But since there's so many people doing the exact same thing nowadays online and numbers of realtors are just getting increasingly larger by the day, you need to kind of find a way to stand out. And the best way to do that is to actually be yourself because nobody else can be you as good as you can. And so what worked in the past where you just have to post about what you're doing or what you've done no longer works because everybody's done something in this space. And if not, then it just comes down to marketing. That's a whole nother subject though. So what you need to do now is actually Stand out from the crowd, not hide behind this mask that we talked about, right? Now, don't get it confused, because I'm not telling you that being professional is bad. I'm saying that leading with the personality that you have in your work brain, the exact same online, will not get you further than you are aiming. What do I mean by that? Well, you have a work brain, right? You are a realtor, but outside of your profession, you are a human being. You may be a mom, you may be a wife, you may be a husband, you may be a son, something. Outside of your profession, you are somebody. And so what tends to happen when you hop online, you have this switch on, and that's the professional switch, I like to call it. And with that switch on, you tend to talk a way that may not be fully you. You tend to come off as a way that may not be fully you as a human, but everybody's seeing the professional side of you. And unfortunately, that seems a little bit fake. Now, I know you're trying to do your job, trying to be the best realtor that you can, but you cannot lead with the personality that you have in your work brain. Try to translate that over online on social media, because you're just not going to get as far as you think you want to get. And so now that you've analyzed what's going on in your space and within your brain, it's time to change, right? What do I mean by change? What do you have to change? Well, that's both your mindset and your approach. A lot of you are walking around with your brain in somewhere where it's not supposed to be. Social media is a different ball game than what you think it is. So first comes your mindset, right? You can't have a different set of outcomes without a different mentality. You must change your mentality, okay? And the ones who figure this part out are already ahead of the curve. The most important things to do when it comes to making content, though, online as a realtor in this saturated space, what is that? Well, that's to separate from you being a realtor trying to make content and just make content. I want you to change that mindset a little bit and realize that you're not a realtor trying to make content. You're just somebody who's simply just trying to make content, right? You're a documenter. And the best content, the highest conversion, comes from those videos that are simply just authentic, because those sell themselves. At that point, you won't need to hop on camera and try to sell something, be somebody that you're not. No, you're just somebody who's documenting the process and making content surrounding your profession, surrounding what you do already. So as I mentioned a little bit ago, you have a mental switch on as a realtor, and that switch represents you always being in realtor mode, which makes every conversation a potential sale. Every contact, every handshake, and in this case, literally every video recorded and uploaded, a potential sale. But literally, the best videos that generate the most conversion happens when there isn't a sale attitude behind it, which leads me to my next point, how to actually approach making content so that you can start winning, right? You must embody the spirit of a creator who documents dope content rather than just a realtor trying to make videos. You need to embody the idea of being a creator first agent. That is how you'll get ahead of the curve. That's how you'll separate yourself. And a lot of you may be asking, well, how do I actually embody the spirit of that creator? How do I become a creator first agent? Well, simple terms, because there is several things that goes into doing this. The main issue tends to be that your ideation and tonality are off. So what happens is most realtors have good intention to educate their viewers. However, in order to build the strongest and most trusted brand as possible, you have to understand who you're speaking to and how to speak to them. That is probably the tip of the iceberg, the most important thing that you need to know when you're trying to make videos online and actually trying to get something from it. Targeting down, nailing down who you're trying to speak to and actually speaking their language is the best way to relate to somebody. And when they start to relate with you, guess what happens? They'll start to end up in your DMs on a consistent basis. So one thing that you may have realized is creators are able to connect so well with their viewers because they understand their audience. They speak their language. Mr. Beast has a certain viewership and he speaks their language extremely well. They have a certain way of trying to be entertained, and he understands that to the T, which is why all his videos are surrounded by that. The way he speaks, the way he does things, everything about his ideation, everything about his tonality is literally speaking their language, so they feel more connected to them, all because they're able to relate with them on that scale. And the same thing can happen with you as a realtor trying to get clients. So when it comes to your ideas, if you don't have good ideas behind your videos, then the people who you're trying to reach will get lost. Now, let's say you do have great ideation behind your videos and your tonality is off. Well, you reached your audience, but if you're not resonating with them in the way you showcase that video, well, then guess what? There is no trust being built, which directly means there is no brand being built. And here's a little tip for you. Nobody will connect with you if all your videos are like commercials. You become a walking transaction. And that's everything that the professional realtor embodies online. That's everything that's wrong with the industry right now. Everybody's a walking transaction. You all sound like commercials. And that's where I say, drop the professional approach and be yourself online. There's several advantages in doing so. Now, if you're naturally professional, then I'm not telling you to drop that act, but just know how to show up online. Again, you have to speak their language. Like Mr. Trent Miller and Ryan Serhant right here. They're both great at being themselves authentically online, which is why so many people are able to connect with them, because in a space full of people trying to be something that they're not and coming off as fake, when you see somebody being their authentic selves, then it's much, much easier to say, wow, they stand out. I will actually not mind working with them. Who would have known that we'd get to a point eventually in time where being yourself online is actually rare, and that's what makes you stand out. Like, that should be the number one thing that people do in the first place, but it doesn't happen. So after you realize that this idea right here is overrated, After you've analyzed yourself and your industry, and after you changed your mindset and approach, well, it's just time to go in. You have to hit the gas and you have to post. Post again and again and again and again, times 1,000. The more people that see you, the more trust that you build. The more trust that you build, the stronger your brand gets. And the stronger that your brand gets, the more authority that you have in your niche, in your city. There's no better time, there's no better way to approach this in the most non-professional way as possible. Now, again, I realize that the goal is to be professional. You are a professional. But when you show up online, it's a way to market yourself. It's a way to market your business in order to get the absolute best results. And that way is not by being a bland professional that blends in. Here's how to actually win online as a realtor nowadays. If you've ever heard any advice that goes against this, well, it's probably outdated traditional advice that simply doesn't work anymore. Figure out yourself, figure out your systems, figure out your audience, and everything will work itself out. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and check out my community link down below. We're building something great over there. I'd love for you to be a part of it. Go out there, kick professionalism to the curb, and go win.